Alright, today we're adding and subtracting unlike fractions. The rule is, okay, first thing you look, are they like fractions or unlike fractions? If they're unlike, to add them, you have to rename the fraction with a common denominator. Now the book talks a lot about least common denominator. Right? That's pretty much all it says the whole time. LCD, LCD. Hey, least common denominator. I don't stress it as much. Right? If you cannot recognize the least common denominator within 1 to 2 seconds of looking at the fractions, then I don't want you to try and find it. Because we've worked on reducing for last week, so we know how to do that. So if you find a common denominator, stick with it. Don't worry about it if it's the least or not. Sometimes the least common denominator, okay, should be smaller than what you found. Sometimes it's bigger than what you think. In any case, you go with a common denominator that works and reduce it at the end. Because if you didn't find least common denominator, it will reduce. Alright? But if you don't know it, okay, don't worry about it. So today, okay, I'll ask for the least common denominator, but if you can't say it within a second or two, that's okay. I'll show you what to do instead. I have a problem like this. 3/5 plus 1/3. What's my least common denominator? 15. Okay, in this case, it is the numbers times each other. Okay, that is not always the case. You'll see the problem next. Okay, that is not the case. The least common denominator is not those numbers times each other. But if you don't know the least common denominator, then multiply the two denominators. In this case, it is the least common denominator. 5 times 3. So what I do is I look at 5. What did I do to 5 to make it 15? Multiply it by 3. So what I do to the bottom, I do to the top. So 3/5 is equal to 9/15. 1/3 is equal to 5/15. And then I add those. Okay, these are like fractions. I know how to add like fractions. My denominator doesn't change, and I add the numbers on top. What is 9 plus 5? 14. Does this reduce? No. Right? 15 is the least common denominator, so it couldn't reduce anyway. Alright, we'll write this problem down. Someone raise your hand. Tell me the least common denominator, Brody. 12. Okay? If you don't recognize it within a second or two, do I want you going through all the factors and trying to figure it out? No, that is a waste of your time. I find that you guys will spend more time trying to find the least common denominator than you would if you had just multiplied 6 and 4 and went with 24 on bottom. Okay? So I'm going to do both. For you that remembered it was 12 and for you that want to go with 24. Okay? I'm going to show you it works and you're going to get the same answer. So you're confident in yourself when you don't find the least common denominator. 1, 6. What did I do to 6 to make it 12?
Multiply by 4. Or 2.
Multiply by 2. I multiplied 4 by 3, so I multiply 3 by 3. 3/4 is equal to 9/12. I add those, we get 11/12. Does that reduce? No, because 12 is my least common denominator. Right? For you that are worried about not finding least common denominator, okay, I'm going to show you that 24 is fine. Okay, you look up there, you don't remember that 12 goes in is a multiple of those. So instead, what you should do is just multiply them. 6 times 4 is 24. So I multiply 6 by 4 and multiply 1 by 4 and get 4 24ths. I multiply 4 by 6 and 3 by 6. That gives me 18 over 24. What is 18 plus 4? 22 over 24. What can I take out of it? 2. If they're even numbers, 2 will go out almost every time. So I reduce by 2. Guess what I get? 11/12. So if you're not for sure if you found the least common denominator or not, look to see if you can reduce at the end. If you can't reduce, you must have found it. Write this down. we have negative 5/6 and 1/8. So someone raise your hand, tell me my least common denominator. Clinton. 24. If I didn't know what it was, what should I go with? 48. 6 times 8. Okay. What I do is 6 to make it 24. Times it by 4, so I multiply 5 by 4. So we get negative 20 over 24. And then I'm adding 3 over 24. What is negative 20 plus 3?
Negative 17.
So I have negative 17 over 24. Does this reduce? No, because remember, 24 is my least common denominator. There's my answer. Okay, if you went 48, you would have got negative 34 over 48. What would that reduce to? Negative 37 over 24. Write this one down. Alright, yesterday when we did like fractions and we did mixed numbers, which one did I prefer you do when you were subtracting or when you were adding a negative? Which way did I prefer you do it? Improper fractions. Guess what I prefer you do today? Improper fractions. I will do both, but I will show you that it is much better to go with improper fractions. Okay, so change negative 5 3/4 into an improper fraction. Okay, 5 times 4 is 20. 20 plus 3 is, so I have negative 23 over 4. Then what's my least common denominator? Someone raise your hand quickly. Okay, Brady. Okay, it's not 40, and you don't worry about the denominator being negative. Gowdy?
20.
It's not 40.
20.
It is 20. Okay, but here's the deal. If you don't recognize that 20 is the least common denominator, what should you do? Go with 40, right? Brady's answer of 40 is not a wrong answer. Okay, it is fine if you go with it, but in least common denominator, we're looking for 20. Okay, I changed 10 by 2. I multiplied by 2 to make it 20. So I do the same to 3. We get negative 6. I took 4, made it 20 by timesing it by 5. Okay, so 23 times 5 is 115. Then I add those. Okay, since they're both negative, my answer has to be negative. It's 121 over 20. All right. 20 goes into 121. 6 times, sorry. 6 times with 1 left over, and my answer is negative. So negative 6 and 1/20. Everybody agree? Okay, I will show you how to do it without making improper fractions, just to show you it can be done, but this is not what I prefer. All right. So what I do is I go ahead and change my fractions to improper fraction, or change my denominators to the least common denominator, which we agreed was 20. So this is negative 6. I keep negative 5 out here, and I change 4 to 20, multiplying it by 5. So that gives me 15 over 20. So then I look here, okay, negative 5 is going to be right here. What is negative 6 plus negative 15? Negative 21. So then I have an improper fraction. So what do I do when I have an improper fraction? I make it a mixed number. Okay, so that is negative 1 and 1/20, right? What is negative 5 minus 1 and 1/20? Negative 6 and 1/20. So is it possible? Yes. Was it easier? No. Okay. People will get confused by this. They'll write that as the answer. Okay? Or they'll write this as the answer. Okay? I don't want you doing that. Okay? This is what I want, and it's much easier to make it improper fractions. Write this down. I have 3/8 minus 3/4. What's my least common denominator? Raise your hand, Gowdy. No, it's not. Okay, it is 8. All right, but is it okay to go with 16, Gowdy? Yes. Okay, you look there. Yeah, they both go into 16. Go with it. But they actually both go into 8 as well. So I don't change 3/8. What I change is 3/4. Okay, I change it into 6/8. Multiply both by 2. What's 3 minus 6? -3. So my answer is -3/8. Does this reduce? No. So 8 must be my least common denominator. Write this one down. All right, I have 9 3/5 minus 7 2/3. What do I encourage you to do? Improper fractions. Okay, 9 times 5 is 45. 45 plus 3 is 48. 7 times 3 is 21. Plus 2 is 23. What's 28 minus 23?
28.
Or, no, we can't do that, can we? We have to make them what? Into like fractions. Right? We have to change. So what do I need to... What's my least common denominator? 15. So 48 times 3 is 144. 23 times 5 is 115. 144 minus 115. Anyone know? It's 29. Right? How many times is 15 go to 29? One time with 14 left over. And there's my answer. Okay? That's the way I encourage you to do it. I'm going to do it the other way. Okay? You don't have to write it down. Alright? Sometimes it is easier to not change them in improper fractions. But you will get them right more often if you go improper fractions. 9 minus 7. Okay, it's 2. But then we got to change the fractions. Okay, change 3/5 into 9/15 and 2/3 into 10/15. What is 9 minus 10? So we have 2 and -1/15. What is 2 minus 1/15? Well, what I have to do is I have to borrow. Make that 1, make that 15 over 15. What's 15 minus 1? 14. So 1 and 14 or 15. Was that my answer? Yes. What are you most likely going to mess up? This one right here. Okay, I had people writing this as an answer yesterday. That is wrong. Okay, you have to go ahead and subtract them out. You won't have this problem if you make them in improper fractions. Here's your homework assignment.